That morning we got off to an early start, making sure we had everything set. We went ahead and put a spare set of clothes in the garage on account of we figured she wouldn't be too thrilled about her shirt being ripped almost all the way down in the middle, like it was from where we were trying to hold her down when she freaked out the first night. Dick said he was going to stay in there while we were gone to keep her company with Jasmine. We waited until later in the day when it was turning dark again to finally head out. That way it'd be night by the time we made the 45-minute drive there, hoping there'd be less people working by then. The only conversation we had on the way there was about exactly what we were going to do once we got there. The idea being, and this one earned him a smart check in my notepad, that he would walk in with a disguise consisting of temporary blonde hair coloring, a ball cap, and thick glasses, and pretending to be working on a research paper of some kind, asking a few questions to figure out which room the blood was kept in before he'd make a run for it, bolt back to the Wrangler with as much as he can carry. Now, I know what y'all are probably thinking, but the whole thing where he single-handedly demolished the Mark Con didn't actually occur to any of us at the time. He was saying all kinds of smart stuff, and I guess we just didn't put two and stupid together. By the time we pulled into the parking lot, we had everything worked out. So I just left the car running as he hopped out and strolled up to the front door and walked in. Now, what I at the time thought was according to the plan, he comes blasting full speed back out the door 10 minutes later holding a bunch of plastic bags in one arm. From what I could tell, it looked like a bag might have busted and got all over him because his light blue shirt was all wet and dark on one side. Shortly before he gets into the car, a gaggle of people in scrubs, which were also stained dark, came stampeding out behind him. As he got closer, I started to see panic on his face and realized the boy was missing his whole right arm. That was his blood all over everything and everyone. He didn't even slow down. Kids, I shit you not, he jumped headfirst straight through my back passenger windshield. I screamed. Folks, I ain't gonna lie. I screamed a lot right about there. Crash! Go, 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 go! He yelled as he made contact with the rear windshield, which made me floor the pedal right as I started to hear bodies pound against the side of the Wrangler, almost knocking it up on its side. What the shit is going on, boy? I squealed as we tore out the parking lot and into traffic. And where the goddamn hell is your arm? Oh. Ow. He groaned, dropping the bags of blood onto the seat and working his way up to the front seat. Vampires. The whole place is lousy with vampires. I guess they recognized me or something as soon as I darted into the back room where they stored blood. There were like 3 of them in there. What about your arm? I asked with loud panic still in my voice. Oh, right. I had to kinda lizard it off. One of them got a hold of my arm real high up and broke it, but they weren't letting go. So I grabbed onto one of the corners of the brick walls and transformed a few muscles in my other arm, just enough where I could pull it off and get away, he said, holding his remaining hand, showing the deep purple of the internal bleeding fading away, as his broken fingers and dislocated joints started to situate themselves back to where they went. I grabbed all I could with it like this. Ugh. I gagged. Oh, honey, put that thing down. I'm trying to drive, and you're going to make me sick. By the time his arm got grown back halfway down to the elbow and finally stopped gushing blood all over my vehicle, thank God we didn't get pulled over, because there's no explaining that. I literally slid into my driveway as we both piled out in a hurry, scooping up the plastic sacks as we did. Not even taking time to shut the car doors, we took off into the back door and called out to everyone to let them know we was back. Hey y'all, we got it. We actually got it, I hollered at everyone. Dix made it to us before everyone else, as he shot out of the garage and ran full speed in the living room where me and Milo was. Shortly after, everyone else started to congregate around too, examining the stolen plasma closely. And then Milo's missing limb. What the hell happened? Jasmine cried out when she saw Milo's stump and blood all over his shirt. As he tried to explain the ruckus that surrounded it, I heard Dex noticing the Wrangler's disheveled state as he said, Did I just hear something falling off? Oh my god, your car's parts falling all off of it. What the hell happened to it? Peering out through the living room window. About the second he asked, we all turned to face, not the driveway or the car, but the opposite direction, where commotion started coming from. A split second later, that metal legs thing came rocketing out through a hole in the door before being embedded deep into the far wall. Then the rest of the door burst into splinters. Before we even had time to gather our thoughts, a cold chill ran down my back as we all heard the voice. Oh, yes, the voice said as a hand with long black talons wrapped itself around the corner before allowing the rest of our only until very recently captured monster girl to follow behind it. We all slowly turned to face her. Her bones cracked down the hall as she stretched and twisted her back and arms, getting comfortable with her newfound freedom. As she slowly walked towards us with an evil smirk, raking deep canyons into the walls with her claws, she hissed, "I'm gonna twist each and every one of your goddamn heads off like fucking bottle caps." But before she could reach us, the metal thing finally wrenched itself free from the wall and made a wild sprint for us. We all screamed and covered our faces as the contraption sprinted full speed and leapt from the ground towards us with one leg extended like a spear in front of it. Thousands of shards of broken glass cascaded from behind us and into the room as the tripod flew past us and into the silhouette of a person exploding through the window, hitting it in the center of the chest and sending it flying back out into the darkness with a wet, crunchy thud.
Holy fucking God, what was that?
Leslie screamed as everyone all at once ran to look out the shattered window to see none other than an actual vampire kicking and flailing, pinned deeply into the massive oak tree behind the house and driveway. I kept hearing about them, but this was my first time getting a good look at one in the light. Then all at once, we seemed to remember that the threat hadn't ended. We spun on our heels expecting her to pounce at any second, but she didn't move. She just stood there, staring wide-eyed at something on the floor. She must have noticed the bags of blood we dropped, I thought to myself in that moment before a horrible wet gargling and ear-splitting shriek forced my eyes to the ground. Dix was lying on the floor with a large piece of his neck missing, as a dark red pool flowed steadily from his massive hole. In the few seconds before any of us could come to our senses and drop down to try and help him, he was gone. His open, unblinking eyes peering off into nothing as he died right in the middle of my home. As every friend he had in this world couldn't do anything but look on in terror.
Ha 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 ha! Got one! Got one! We're gonna get the rest of you before long!
The creature nailed to my tree taunted gleefully from outside.
You didn't like him, did you? Oh shit, my bad. I can get that plug I bit out of him back to you. But that was a pretty big one, so it might take a few hours to pass.
I jumped as someone passed me by, snatching something heavy off the mantel over the fireplace. Our freshly unleashed beast didn't say a word as she stepped over the windowsill, dragging that big metal club of hers along the ground beside her. She marched right up to the creature on the tree, and we all watched on silently. Then she yanked the tripod's legs free from the trunk of the oak, and before anyone knew what happened, she took the club of hers and swung it with both hands like a baseball player right into its face so hard it took a chunk of the tree with it. Listening to the sounds of thousands of red-dyed, sticky splinters falling gingerly to the concrete, we all watched without a word as she walked back around through the back door and into the living room, all except for Leslie, who was now on the ground beside Dex, sobbing uncontrollably and covered in his blood. She dropped, sitting down next to her, picking up one of the plastic bags before emptying its contents into her mouth, then laying back on the floor into the still expanding red stain, as we all circled around, not knowing what to say or do anymore beyond this point. We were really lost this time. Looking down into Dex's empty eyes, I realized the desperation and mortality of our own situation for the first time. I was brought back to my thoughts as I heard Leslie begin to sob and plead for Milo and Tegan to do something, to try and save him. But we all knew they couldn't do anything for that poor boy. We were all in tears by then. Hell, crying was about all any of us could think to do, even our hard-ass vampire slayer. I caught a single tear roll out of her eyes before she suddenly got to her feet and walked upstairs to her room without a word. None of us saw her again for several days after that. If she'd sneak out to the bathroom or kitchen, she was there and back before any of us could catch her at it. Seeing as we really couldn't report his death, 'cause that'd expose who and where we all was, and that we were Dix's only family, we held a funeral and cremated him out back, up in the woods. But only just far enough to know where we knew she could still see from her bedroom window. Luckily, I lived far enough out that people almost never passed by, and even if they did, the house was big enough to hide what was actually going on, and seemed like just another average bonfire. We understood she didn't want to come out, but we also knew she wouldn't ever want to miss Dix's final send-off. I did manage to catch a glimpse of her every now and then in the corner of the window while we were out there. We spent most of the time after that with me and Milo tearing up the old carpet and laying down one of the new ones, and Trey putting the new glass in the window. We piled the vampire carcass in the garage with Mark for the time being, partly because we might as well, because we already had a hostage in there, and partly to soften him up over the few days of looking at and smelling the rotten corpse, one of his vampire buddies. But after about a day, its body had dissolved into a pool of some weird yellow shimmering liquid. On the fourth day, Milo had finally had enough of all of us carefully knocking on the princess's door, asking if she needed anything or wanted to talk, just being ignored.
"Nope, I've had it. Everyone's had it,"
he barked as he climbed the stairs.
"She ain't gonna be the only one dealing with that shit by herself."
Then he kicked my door to her room in. I peeked my head around the corner just enough to see in. She was just sitting on her bed in the dark, surrounded by empty plastic blood bags and food wrappers. Her laptop was on and some video was playing. She still had on the same raggedy torn shirt she'd been locked up with too.
"Hey champ, how you holding up?"
Milo asked her.
Huh? He said, just noticing that it looked like my door was kicked off its hinges. Finally lucid enough again for my memory to function properly and not seem like a dream sequence of events. How am I? What? Oh yeah, just YouTube. I mumbled, pointing to the screen and noticing Gay Jake's eyes poking out from around the corner. Hey, did you know that this guy actually narrated the story about when we first met? We're like, famous now.
"Oh boy, you are right. Jesus fuck."
Milo coughed.
"That's the same damn shirt. God damn it, woman, you have dried blood all over. You know what? Come on. Let's get your rotten ass into the bathroom so you can shower."
Then he wrapped his arms around me and practically dragged me into the bathroom. I was lucid, just not compliant. He sat me down on the edge of the counter, left and came back with a change of clothes.
"Okay, here you go. Fresh threads. Get you a shower, come down, rejoin society,"
he said, tossing the clothes on the counter next to me and closing the door behind me as he left. He came back about 40 minutes later and opened the door to find me sitting on the closed lid of the toilet, still dry and crusty as ever.
"Oh, fuck me, really?"
he scolded. Then he stuck his head out and into the hall and yelled,
"Hey, Jasmine, Teague, Leslie, Gay Jake, the mean bitch. Anyone come here and help her take a shower. I know you fuckers can hear me, goddammit."
Cursing to himself again, he pulled his head back into the bathroom and turned to face me again as best he could, with me staring into the void like I was. He hesitated for a second and then closed the door.
"Fuck it. I already had my dick on your leg. You've been half naked for almost a week anyway. But this stays between us, understand? I don't need everyone thinking I'm some kind of creep, but you're gross,"
he said with a finger in my face. I nodded slowly and he turned the faucet on and started letting the tub fill with water.
"Okay, arms up,"
he said, pulling my nasty shredded t-shirt off.
"At least there's no bra. Those things are confusing as hell."
He joked, which almost made me laugh.
Okay, now, it's about to get weird. Legs straight,
he said, taking off my equally dirty bottoms. He actually turned his head and looked away the whole time. The guy never stopped surprising me, and he actually kept that up for a surprisingly long time, but eventually he got frustrated.
Okay, look. This ain't gonna work for shit. If I'm gonna get all this funk and grime off you, I need to see. We're just gonna have to both pretend to forget what I saw. Okay?
He said. I nodded once more. Yeah, it was awkward, but it didn't reach peak awkward until the door flew open.
We think we hear someone call for us, but we were not sure,
Tegan said, accompanied by Jasmine, as the bathroom door opened at the exact moment Milo finally worked up the courage to scrub my inner thighs. Yeah. Admittedly, as bad as it looked, Milo doubled down, as only he could have.
Oh, I see. Now you two want to show up. The hell were you when I was begging for someone else to come do this? The actual fuck! Nah. I'm too far in now. You missed your chance to help out. Out!
He yelled again, but this time grabbing one of the soaking wet sponges and heaving it at them. They jumped back and slammed the door behind them. Everything was silent for a second before I heard a few small giggles from both of them. I'm glad you finally came out, Jasmine said softly through the door. We were worried about you, especially me. How's Leslie? I managed to ask, still gazing mindlessly into her rippling bathwater. Oh well, she's had a pretty rough few days, but we've been taking care of her and helping her through it. As she turned to leave, she informed me and Milo that they'd all be waiting in the kitchen. After he dried me off and helped me get dressed, we went downstairs. He didn't have to drag me, but I don't think I would have found my way down there without him nudging me in the right direction. We walked into the kitchen where everyone was gathering at the table waiting for us. Or almost everyone. The brief second it took me to mistakenly look for Dex in the crowd was all it took. I managed to fit 4 days' worth of crying into a solid hour of bawling my eyes out. After we all had a good cry and a long conversation, the question finally got asked. So, what do we do now? I stood up and placed both my hands on the table, speaking as matter-of-factly as possible. Kill them. Kill them all.
This little piggy went to market,
I yelled, slamming the open garage door, scaring the absolute piss out of Mark, making him squeal like a 5-year-old at a Chuck E. Cheese.
Holy fuck, the abandoned hospital! They sell all their shit out of the streets, but they cook it and keep it there in the whole hospital. I think most of them sleep there during the day too.
See how easy that was? I said, turning to walk back to the group and relay the information. Looks like they're set up in the old rundown hospital.
Well, fuck,
Milo swore under his breath.
This is gonna be a lot harder than I thought then. There's all kinds of places they can escape once me and Tegan are in there with them.
He pulled out his phone and started swiping around for a minute.
Okay, cool. They actually have a lot of pictures and blueprints for this place online. So we have to find a way to get them as grouped together as possible in a place with only one exit.
As Milo was talking, I noticed Gay Jake pull out some kind of notepad, make a check or something, and put it back in. There might be an explanation for it in the section I let him write, but I told myself I wouldn't go back and read it, to keep from being tempted to alter anything he wrote.
How the hell did we do that?
Troy asked.
We're gonna need a way to lure them down there somehow. With something they want bad enough to all pile in there at once.
What about me? I asked. About the time I said anything, my cell phone started to ring. I looked at the screen that read, Steven.
Oh shit, oh god, Steven, we forgot about Steven.
I screamed, looking up at Jasmine as I felt myself start to hyperventilate. I tapped the accept button on the phone and raised my shaking hand up to my ear, not fully knowing whose voice to expect. Hello?
Hey, you know your rent's due in like 4 days, right?
Steven's agitated voice spoke through the speaker.
What? Oh, right. Yeah, rent, sorry. I'll mail you the cash or something, my bad.
Oh, hey, are you okay?
What are you talking about? Of course I am. Are you some kind of trouble? Some really energetic lady came by asking about you a few days ago, with a group of really shady-looking people with her. Swear to God, she acted like she was on speed or something.
What did you tell her? I asked louder than intended.
Well, I figured you're probably at that Jake guy's place,
he said, causing my stomach to lurch.
But she was a bitch, so I told her I didn't know. That we don't communicate that much where we're going and what we're doing to each other. I saw her and those sketchy guys snooping around here a few times after that, though.
Oh, thank God. Stephen, I owe you one. I'll send you my half of the rent as soon as I can. You're literally a lifesaver. And this might not make sense, but I'm so fucking sorry I left you there. After running out and putting an envelope with the rent and a fake return address into the mailbox, I ran back to the house and got back to business. So yeah, I'll do it. I'll be the bait. What do I have to do?